Unlike most genres where the ending is the most enticing, post-apocalyptic media often draws us to the beginning, the start of the apocalypse. Why has this happened? That's why today we'll be focusing on 3 pieces of post-apocalyptic media: Arcadian, The Road, and The Last of Us, delving into each introductory scene and what each of them mean. Starting in a derelict building, the man rifles through drawers in search of something. Supplies, maybe. He takes a stuffed bear, hinting that he may not be travelling alone. The feet of a dead body are paid no attention as he leaves the building. A small detail, but it allows us, as the audience, to suss out 2 possibilities. He simply found the building and the body as is, or he killed the occupier to take what he needs. Following the survivor more, we are introduced to our first sense of human presence. A destroyed city, decaying and crumbling. Our protagonist weaves in and out of the streets and alleys, accompanied by the sound of sporadic gunshots being fired and the cries of screaming people. The blaring sound of a siren rises up over the buildings, emanating a feeling of dread. We are never allowed to see this commotion, only hear. Once again, questions are raised but not answered. Some sort of conflict? An attack? Civil unrest? Or something else? The fear and morbid curiosity of the unknown drives this compelling introduction to the apocalypse which Arcadian is set. The once grandiose cityscape is derelict. Makeshift favelas can be seen in the direction of the gunfire. A smoke bomb or tear gas is fired up, reminiscent of riot resistance. Has the constraints of a government forced tensions to rise to a point where widespread resistance has begun, to an extent where civilization is beginning to crumble? As the screaming and shouting crescendos to a peak, we are suddenly granted silence. A wide shot of a barren landscape juxtaposes the tight claustrophobic city our protagonist was just navigating. He stands for a moment, looking over what seems to be a floodplain. In the distance, smoke rises from destroyed buildings, a planet choked in fumes it seems. Buildings in the distance have been reduced to rubble and rebar. The scene is devoid of life save for our survivor. The smoke and muddied banks could suggest a severe environmental repercussion, but again, we are only allowed to ask questions. The only answer we are given is where the survivor is going. Children, 2 babies waiting for him at his destination. The cries of the babies are welcoming compared to the screaming of the people in the city. No longer cries of pain, but a cry of life. The man is relieved to find the infants and embraces them. For the first time we hear him speak, telling them it is okay. We are privy to our 3 main protagonists for the remainder of the film, and we are left to wait intently to discover what has plagued the world of Arcadian. Arcadian introduces us to the apocalypse through the absence of spoken context. We join a survivor running through desolate rural and cityscapes, seemingly going somewhere rather than running from something. The absence of any other life is apparent. Vast scenes of emptiness save for our protagonist. There is no vocal or written explanation to the events in this sequence. We are left to join the survivor on his task, only able to piece together subtle clues as to the state of the world left behind. It invokes a sense of curiosity and caution, as we want to know more but are denied any hard evidence. What has happened? Who is this? Where is everyone else? And why is he running? The sequence wants us to ask these questions, for we will want to know the answers. Invested in the story from our lack of understanding. I remember watching this film and this opening sequence for the first time with 2 of my friends, and as it played out we all had the same reaction. Sitting up to attention, leaning forward to pick apart the details of the scene and saying, I like this. The idea of not showing the reasons for why the apocalypse started is used to great effect, leaving us wanting more, yearning for answers. Our next introduction to an apocalypse is the film adaptation of Cormac McCarthy's book, The Road, directed by John Hillcoat in 2009. Again, we are dropped into the centre of an apocalypse, but this time guided by a vocal narration. The voice of our protagonist, the man, providing us with nuggets of context behind the ashen world the two characters walk through. A boy and a man wander through a derelict ash-covered landscape, no sign of life present save for themselves. We are not shown a dramatic scene of conflict or collapse, but instead an emptiness. We don't infer or learn much from the visual scene itself beyond the prospect of a burnt area. Instead, the film tells us through spoken context, the narration of the man, which provides us with a basis for three things: what has happened, the state of the world, and the motivations for our survivors. They walk, trundling a trolley in front of them, carrying their belongings, slowly traversing across a long, winding, derelict road. The sky, ground, and surrounding areas are muted grey. Life has been erased from these lands, and the colours of the world with them. The dull colours express that this is no longer a planet filled with life. We are shown trees stripped of bark and leaves, empty husks that stand like great timber tombstones as a reminder of the world that once was. They piece together their map and continue into an area laden with snow. They reach another building. Shortly after, the man finds skeletal remains tucked into a suitcase, and inside the boy stops in awe at the taxidermy trophy of a stag's head. An animal that he has probably never seen before. Something that may as well be an alien to him. His sense of childlike wonder still glows softly like a flickering candle. He still has a sense of wonder and curiosity amongst such a dead world. And as his father watches, he ends his narration with words that reveal his motivations. If the child is not the word of God, then God never spoke. Haunting but hopeful, these words give us a glimpse into the man's drive, a father's duty and love for his child. The narration reveals a lot to us about the apocalypse and what the character thinks like. He believes it's October, but isn't entirely sure as he hasn't kept a calendar for years. This tells us that as time has gone on, the need to cling on to former norms is slipping away to the monotonous survival. It is cold and grey, and with it he grows colder, becoming a part of the dying world. No animals and no crops remain, and soon the trees will fall. It is not just human society that has fallen, but the very cycle of life itself. All that remain are refugees and gangs that look for supplies. Cannibalism, he says, is the great fear, especially as they slip into hunger. He talks of stories of courage and justice to his son, some way to comfort him. His only truth is that the child is his warrant and the word of God. The narration is almost read like a poem. The man's words are soft but solemn. He is aware of their brutal reality but has seemingly become used to it. Whether the fall was the result of environmental collapse or the expansion of war, it does not matter anymore, for all he is concerned with is his son. I always felt this opening scene to be beautiful in a bleak kind of way. The soft keys of the piano juxtapose the harsh visuals of the apocalyptic world that they're walking through. The man's voice revealing us the secrets of the apocalypse, letting us know what to expect in the journey to come. And the ending words start the recurring motif of biblical allegories placed throughout the story. If you haven't read the book or seen the film, I would definitely recommend it. It isn't an action-packed survival like other post-apocalyptic movies, but more of a realistic journey of what a decaying world would be like. For the last installment of this episode, we'll be taking a look at a show rather than a film. The Last of Us, released in 2023, based off of the hit game released of the same name. The Last of Us opens up with an entirely different premise, a warning prior to the fall of civilization. It starts in the middle of a talk show, and much like the audience of this show, we as watchers are privy to three men in discussion, seemingly two scientists and the presenter. The topic of global virus outbreak is being discussed, the first scientist engaging in conversation with the presenter, talking about the ever-present fight between humanity and viruses. The presenter then addresses the second scientist, who dismisses the idea of viruses being the be-all and end-all, that society has and always will battle against viruses, suggesting that we can develop the means to do so. Instead, he raises the notion of fungi, to which the audience comfortably laugh, alongside the presenter's jokes about the procurement of psychedelics. The second scientist remains stoic and continues his piece. The mention of ergot and then cordyceps, a fungi capable of infecting insects, their nervous system, and causing hallucinations, causing them to act in a frenzied way. As he continues to speak, the audience begin to pay more attention, their laughs begin to subside, and they sit, patiently listening. The first scientist retorts that fungi simply cannot survive inside the human body, and therefore is not a prospect to be concerned about. A brief moment of relief. The second scientist agrees that yes, currently fungi cannot survive due to our internal body temperature, but then he gives us a scenario all too familiar, and one that feels like a warning. What if global temperatures were to rise, and the fungi were forced to adapt? A very plausible prospect. Then, it would be easy for many fungi types to claim the human body as a suitable host. His tone shifts to a more serious tone, and the audience watch on nervously. He says that if that happens, then billions would be infected into a mindless frenzy. That there is no cure, and it is not even possible to make one. The host is no longer jovial, and wears a look of concern. He asks, "And what if that happens?" The scene ends back on the second scientist, who delivers a chilling warning, and that we as the audience know as a prediction. We would lose. This scene is quite different from the other two we have discussed previously in the video. A scene depicted way before the apocalypse has started, and in a somewhat familiar setting. A talk show not too dissimilar from what we would see on our own TVs. And this is what makes the scene so impactful, as we know as the audience that everyone in that current room and scene will likely not survive. It's a cruel warning to us for a future we know will befall these characters. What also drives this warning home is the shift in tonality within the scene. From a reasonable discussion with some humorous intervals, to a quick descent into the known and unknown. A threat that is very present and is close to having the means to ignite. The tie is to environmental warming, and so it hits home that we could be those audience members sitting and listening. The dialogue starts off at a moderate talking pace, but then it ramps up into a torrent of scientific information and caution, and then ends after a pause, back in the original moderate pace, with "We'd lose," suggesting this will be the new reality. Thank you all for tuning in today. I really enjoyed breaking down these three sequences. If you've got any film recommendations, do drop them down in the comments below, as I will be checking them out. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more.